Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eat Sleep List. My name is Matt Johnson, and I just wanted to extend before we get going today, I want to extend a thank you to every single person who has subscribed to the channel, liked a video on the channel, commented on a video, shared something that I have created here. I am so appreciative of all of the support. I have to admit, with or without you, I probably still would do these videos, but with you, I don't feel like I'm alone every time I record some kind of content. So I thank you so much for being a part of this. It is Mirror List Monday today, and kind of piggybacking off of what we discussed last week, we're going to build some bridges today and look at some things that connect us all. This is the Universal Language List. Let's get to work. All right, so some of you may have heard this term before, some of you may have not, but for those who have not, a universal language, it is the way I define it. The way I define a universal language is something that really is a common interest that can be discussed with just about anybody. Probably not the best. I'm not a really great wordsmith, so that might not have been a great way to describe it. But for example, music. I think just general music is a universal language. It could connect us with people from all over the world. Okay, art can be considered a universal language. It's something that connects people from all across the world. We all have a universal language. Whether we really truly know it or not, we all have it. We all have several universal languages. And this can take place, this can be a variety of different things. It could be food related, it could be entertainment related, it could be sport related. There's so many layers to what a universal language could be. They really define us, who we are as people. These are like our just big interests that they define our personality. I first realized universal language several years ago. I was on a cruise, and I was wearing a Phillip Rivers Indianapolis Colts jersey. All right, I was with my in-laws, my wife, and that whole crew, and we got off on one of the ports. I can't remember which one it was, but we're walking around, and I just happened to see somebody with a Phillip Rivers Chargers jersey on. So I seen this as a moment, a brief connection, a chance at just saying hello and maybe making someone's day. So I walked up to this gentleman and said, "Hey, nice jersey." And then when he realized that I had a Phillip Rivers Colts jersey, he goes, "Oh, wow, awesome." And we ended up striking up a conversation about our love and affinity for Phillip Rivers, who we'll talk about down the road. He is one of my he is my favorite football player of all time. But me and this random stranger happened to have this conversation. We talked about, our love of Phillip Rivers, how much he means to us as a Chargers fan, as a Colts fan, as a football fan, how much we liked him. And it was really cool. It led to this conversation that we found out we were from the same area. Imagine that. We weren't even on the same cruise ship, but wherever we were, I really can't remember. I wish I did. But it was very, very far away from Buffalo, which, basically where I'm from and where this gentleman was from. And I look back fondly on that moment as, this stranger who I connected with over the love of one single football player. So I want us to really explore these universal languages today, okay? I want us to pinpoint them. I want us to write them down together, make the blueprint. That is what this show is all about, listing stuff and things. But universal language is so important, especially in this day and age. All right, every time you flip on the internet, somebody hates someone. One group of people hates another group of people, and it's ugly. It's exhausting. I'm so tired of hearing about hate. I'd rather build bridges between people. Okay? You would be surprised if just talking to people face to face, in person, how much we actually have in common with each other. All right? Social media is weird, and I know I'm very hard on it. I know I'm extra critical of the world of social media, and I can only speak of that as someone who's had a lot of bad experiences on social media. But if you just look at it and the way people talk about each other, people that sometimes they've met and sometimes saying bad things about somebody you've never met before, just because one thing between you two is off. It doesn't click. I think it's horrible, and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of potential good relationships are cut off before they can even truly begin, based on a disagreement on one thing. Usually it ends up politics. I hate that it's that way, but it's the way it is. But I really do like to build bridges. I know I like last week's episode with the friendship list, the qualities of a friend list, that I was kind of critical. I almost whined a little bit more than I maybe have liked to. I'll let you be the judge of that. But I want to build bridges with people. I don't like being uncomfortable in situations. I like finding common ground with people and finding something that we love and that we can talk about, right? I don't want to go right to negativity all the time. When I'm hanging out, like we said, good vibes, good energy. There's that energy word again. But I want fun things to talk about, all right? I don't want conversations to get ugly and just nasty, and I don't like hatred. I don't like hating people. I really don't. So the idea of the universal language list is to build bridges and build connections with people. And and we're really going to harp on it today. It's so important therapeutically to find people, like-minded people, not necessarily like-minded, but people with similar interests. It's really fulfilling. I'm not going to spoil any of my list, but if there's something I'm really passionate about and I find somebody who is equally or similar passionate about that certain something, I can have conversations with that person in full confidence that it's going to be meaningful. It's going to be meaningful. There are a lot of conversations that I've had with people trying to, I really don't bother unless I know somebody likes something. I tend not to bring it up, but there's an emptiness when you're trying to have a conversation about something you're passionate about with somebody who just does not care. You get a lot of yeahs and rights in response, and people just trying to get through the conversation. I've picked up on that many a times. So these bridges that we build with other people that like things with the same as us, it's really important to our own health, and it may benefit the other people too. So I really can't stress the importance enough of how great a universal language is. The lessons from the list for the universal language list. There's plenty of stuff I already mentioned in the previous segment, but I'm going to reiterate it because of the importance of it. Just again, looking for ways to connect with people. You would be surprised how many people like some of the similar things that we do. And there's some great memories and moments. People that, maybe I normally wouldn't have given a chance to. Maybe. And you overhear that they like a certain thing. And it's not a guaranteed deal that if you like the same thing as someone else, that, there's going to be this great everlasting friendship. But every single relationship that we have in this world, aside from our immediate family, it starts with a universal language. Think about it. Think about some of your best friends that you've made over the years. Some even maybe in a relationship, a romantic relationship. What was the one thing that maybe connected you all, right? You hear lots of stories of people, like-minded people, passionate about a sports team. And that's, that was the beginning of a romantic relationship. Movies, I went to a wedding once. It was a May the 4th wedding. They did a Star Wars themed wedding, which is really, really cool. I'm sure that may have played a part in that person's relationship. If they thought enough to make it a Star Wars themed wedding with lightsabers and all sorts of things, that's a universal language. That is something that connects people. A lot of friendships have. I'm going to go more in depth in my list as I talk about it with some of the different ways I've connected with people. But every relationship starts with a universal language. And again, I reiterate the idea of discussing things, right? There's a lot of people who just, like myself, who are just afraid to discuss what they love and like, because sometimes they feel like people don't care. When I find somebody that I can openly talk to about things that I enjoy, things that I am passionate about, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that I have somebody that I can text or call or sit down and have a meal with and converse about something that we absolutely love. It really makes my heart feel good. It does. I have a lot on my mind a lot. I'm contrary to me having a microphone in my face. I've stated before, I'm not much of an open talker, but man, if we connect on something, I could talk your ear off forever, and it's really beautiful. And then the last thing was, as I was stating, like social media. You turn on the TV and watch the news, and they say that this world that we live in is so divided. It's so ugly. People are not talking to family members and former friends, and they're having disagreements over things that they can't control. Again, you'd be surprised how healthy a relationship can be when you focus on the good stuff, when you focus on the like-minded interests. And I can't stress enough, a lot of people that I'm friends with, we disagree on a lot of things, that tend to be focused on when it comes to keeping people divided. And I don't care. I don't care that I disagree with those people. I don't care. I focus on what I love, what we love, and it turns out to make our relationship stronger and better and impervious. So. All right, here we are, my top 10 universal languages, ways to connect. And again, I cannot stress enough about making lists to follow along. Map out what you love. Map out the previous lists that we have done. Grab a notepad and just write it down and have it. And grow. And grow as people. Grow with me as I'm learning to grow as a human being. Cannot stress it enough, but let's get into it. My number 10. It's actually very wild to me that many, many years ago, this actually was probably my number one universal language. But things have changed. Times have changed. But regardless, it was it's an important part of communicating with people, and that's football. All right, connecting through American football, the National Football League, more specifically the Indianapolis Colts, even though I find them to be garbage right now and absolutely appalling as a franchise. But it's really cool. Like when I finally found people who I can have meaningful conversations with about football, my life changed for the better. It did. It sounds dramatic. It sounds a little ridiculous, but my life changed, and it was really nice. I told the story several weeks ago about how I tried to communicate with people on the internet about football. All right, and it wasn't good. You get you don't know ball responses, which are empty. They stink, and they hurt, and it's just unnecessary. But I got to have connections with people. One of my first podcasts was called the 2-Point Conversation. And what I would do is I would find a guest. For the first year or so, I'd find a guest, and we'd have just a good-hearted conversation about football. There was no need to one-up the other person on what we knew and whatever. And we connected on that level, and it was great for me. It really was. When you can sit down with somebody one-on-one and have a good, healthy conversation about something you're passionate about. Now, for me, with the Colts, living in Buffalo, I've talked about live in Western New York. It is Bills country, but when you can find those few Indianapolis Colts fans that you can kind of talk about the team with, and I'm very fortunate one of them here uses this studio. Shout out to the Tank Talk podcast, my buddy Tank Lettieri. Even though I kind of just didn't want to hear his optimism for the longest time, I always appreciated that we had that connection. Like we legit bonded over the Indianapolis Colts. I got invited to his wedding, and I don't know if that would have happened if we did not bond over our love of football, and especially our favorite football team, the Indianapolis Colts. So that has been a really nice thing to bond over. The memories I have meeting people through fantasy football, draft, putting together fantasy football leagues, going to games and talking with people, actual live games and just chatting with people. I brought up the jersey story, but seeing people, if I'm walking around Western New York and I see somebody with Colts stuff on, hey, go Colts. Well, at least I used to. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm being a little negative Nancy here, but it is always really cool to make that connection and see somebody who cares about football the way you do. So that is my number 10. My number 9. This has been something I bonded with people a lot with over the last 5 years, and it's podcasting or content creation. I talked a lot about the goal-oriented people last week, people who I want to associate with, and over the last 5 years, between running my own podcast studio and just being involved in the game of podcasting, you come across a lot of different people. A lot of people like to coordinate. They like to network. They like to, hey, let me get on your show and you can get on my show type thing. I get pretty excited when I hear that people have a podcast because I think it's an opportunity to help somebody out or maybe learn a thing or two. Even though I'm not doing this for financial gain, I just do it for the love of it. I always want to be better. I always want to do better. And I always want to help people who want to be better at this. And, I'm no expert. I really am not. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But if I can help somebody move in the right direction and be passionate about podcasting, I absolutely love to. And I will help anybody who asks or inquires. I really will. I have no problem doing that. I know everybody seems to have a podcast nowadays, but I just want people to find their voice and be able to express things that they love and feel passionate about. So podcasting / content creation is my number 9. Number 8. I've talked in the past before in this first month that we've done shows that high school wrestling was a big part of my life. All right, being a high school wrestler it helped me so much in high school. I kind of, looking back, I was kind of annoying about it. Like I was kind of like I made it my whole personality. But man, do I get excited when I'm out in the world and I'm at work and I meet a new fellow employee who had time and experience wrestling in high school or college or at the youth level. It's one, wrestling is that weird sport where like it's not super popular, right? You can meet just about anybody who's played Little League baseball, Little League football, maybe some basketball, but wrestling's not the most populated athletic sport. It really isn't. It's the numbers are dwindling constantly. It's not the attention-seeking sport that you would that everybody wishes it could be. It just isn't. Depending on where you go to school. I know my school was predominantly basketball. The basketball games were always packed. The wrestling gyms on match day were not quite popular. So anytime I can speak to someone about high school wrestling, it means a lot to me. So that is therefore is my number 8. Number 7, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because just this past, actually it's 2 Fridays now. It was the Pokemon thing, Gen 1. Don't have too much more to say about it. Playing, whether it's playing Pokemon Go with somebody, talking about cards, talking about the good old days. My connection is always Gen 1, but I will talk Pokemon with anybody. It's my connection with my brother. It's my connection with my son and so many other people over the years. Pokemon has been that bridge, that universal language that needed to create new relationships and create memories, and that's always been fun for me. So there's my number 7. Number 6. I don't think I've talked about this too much, but I love going to Disney World. It's been a while. I haven't really had the chance to, but Disney World is been one of my favorite vacations that I've ever taken. And I've been there, I believe, 10 times over my lifetime, whether it was mostly with my family, my immediate family. I had an ex-girlfriend, and I went with her and her grandparents years ago. It was a wonderful time. I love being down there. I really, truly do. I have such fond memories growing up. And my first time I went, I was 5 years old, and I still remember most of the vacation pretty well. I remember I went there in 97, and the castle was made of candy. Like not actual candy, but they had like the candy design. It was like some kind of anniversary. But I get excited talking about Disney World with people. Rich Moranto, who runs this wonderful studio, Emerge Media Creators Co-op. Disney is a layer. It's a universal language. It's a connection between the two of us. We've talked about Disney many, many times. We've actually done it in podcast form. But just being down there, when you hear somebody talking about their experiences in Disney World, maybe years ago, or their more recent ones, because I love to hear about what's new and what's changed with Disney World. That's something I'm very fond of, and I can connect with just about anybody on. So Disney World comes in at number 6. Number 5. This one's a difficult one. This one's actually a very challenging one. I've talked about my love of history. I love discussing history. I haven't found too many people that want to discuss history. All right, there's not really many people interested in it. It's kind of I know a lot of people weren't fond of it as a high school class or a grade school class. A lot of people didn't care, and they think that U.S. or any kind of history should be booted from curriculum. They think it's a waste of school time. I've always loved history, and I have maybe 1 or 2 people in my life that I can actually go and have a fun conversation with about U.S. history, presidential history, European history, things like that. Again, I've never claimed to be an expert, but when I hear some people kind of talk about things, I like to learn, all right, because history seems to change all the time. We get new takes, new opinions on things. There's plenty to be mad about in history. There's no doubt about it. But if I can have a good, wholesome conversation about history with somebody, about a character, about an event, something, it's really fulfilling, and it's a nice bridge because it's not something that a lot of people openly talk about. It's not, it's not this current thing, right? Everybody likes to talk about what's new, nice new pop culture trend or something of the sort. So that is history is a nice bridge, and there's very few people who I can have. I don't know why I did this small. There's just a couple of people that I feel comfortable having that conversation with, but it has led me to many other discussions and friendships and communications along the road, along the many years that I have been alive. So that is my number 5. Number four. Having done it and having watched it for so long, professional wrestling is one of my favorite universal languages now. It's really cool to talk about the good old days. We always talk about the Attitude Era, the days of Stone Cold and The Rock, and when wrestling was everywhere. Again, it was like the second coming, back to a second coming of professional wrestling as like this highly touted form of entertainment, even though it was kind of trash. Like, it was kind of trash TV, amongst other things. But there's this bond, that I have with people who discuss pro wrestling. And, there's a lot of smarty pants and people who like to sound snarky about it and what people what they should have done, what they shouldn't have done. Oh, that was a bad decision. I just like to enjoy it. I like to talk about things, and with wrestling, I have so many favorite wrestlers and favorite matches and favorite moments. I just want to talk about the good stuff, and we will be talking about. I know WrestleMania is getting close. Sneak preview for our Fun List Friday ahead of WrestleMania. We will be doing a WrestleMania list with the listception concept, and I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. So something to look forward to. Number 3, comic books and superheroes is another bridge. You'd be surprised, that there's so many different comic book characters out there. You'd be surprised with who you can bond with over a character, right? Venom is one of my favorite comic book characters. I love that anti-hero angle that he runs, that he's with, right? He's not really a good guy, but he's also not completely a bad guy. It depends on who's writing for him and what kind of storyline he's in. But I love that, and I've connected with a lot of people over our love of the Venom character. I get excited seeing people with X-Men clothes, right? I seen somebody several years ago. They had a Cyclops hoodie on, and Cyclops is another favorite superhero comic book character of mine. And something as simple as, hey, Cyclops is one of my favorites. I love that hoodie. Can one, make somebody else's day, and two, just strike up a random conversation that you didn't think that is going to be positive for both you and the other person. So my relationship with comic books and superheroes dates back to when I was young. My dad and uncles collected them. I've always had the video games, always watched the cartoons, and I'm blessed to be living in a time in an absolute overabundance of superhero films. Like, it's never ending. I remember being a kid, and there weren't a whole lot of superhero movies for me to watch. Definitely weren't as easily accessible as they are now. But nowadays, there's so many, and I can connect with so many different people discussing various parts of comic books. So that is my number 3. Number 2. My number 2 is going to be video game connection, and it's specifically certain things. I'm not going to give too many details because there are going to be plans to do video game lists and amongst other things. But Final Fantasy, we'll go with one of these. Final Fantasy, was a game franchise that I played that I had no idea that anybody else really played. Uh, Final Fantasy VII was my first Final Fantasy video game, and as you get older, nobody's really talking about it, right? Like I'm going through grade school talking about video games, and actually not a whole lot of people play, but the ones that do, they're focused on Pokemon. It was Mario, Legend of Zelda, Sonic the Hedgehog, like all the main ones. And Final Fantasy didn't really get talked about. Not until I got to high school and I started meeting other people who actually played Final Fantasy games. And, I've had several friendships created. Maybe not friendships, acquaintances, but somebody I can talk to about Final Fantasy, video games about. Me and my cousin Nico actually have a really good relationship when it comes to discussing Final Fantasy. He's been playing the remakes. I don't have a new console, so I can't play the newest remake. But it's a cool bridge, especially something as rare as Final Fantasy. But as we've grown up, and we're finding out, we're learning about, it was just people constantly, right? You see sharing habits on social media and what people like to discuss. You find out that there's way more people that like something that you like, and it's a really cool connection. You can have, what are your favorite characters? What's your favorite games? Rank your games and whatnot. So video games is a strong universal language for me, and it's done wonders. And my number one, and this is one is a layup. It's kind of easy, but it's Star Wars. It is Star Wars. So many people like Star Wars. So many people were born into different generations of Star Wars. Everybody has their favorite movies. Everybody has their favorite trilogy. Everyone from grade school to college to my days in pro wrestling, people at work, through podcasting. I've never had a problem finding somebody who likes Star Wars and likes talking about Star Wars and various things, right? I have friends who read the books. I have friends who read the comics. I have friends who just watch the movies. They just play the games. They remember collecting toys. And Star Wars is like that glue that has brought me together with a lot of those people. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. No matter what you think about Star Wars now, it has found a way to hook people from all different backgrounds and various cultures and all sorts of things. It has been a great way to bridge people together, and I am forever grateful for that. No matter what your favorite movie is, the point is you like Star Wars. No matter if you like the Disney era or you hate it, and you were a George Lucas exclusive fan, Star Wars is at the center of that, and that's the start of something between people. So, Star Wars, my number one favorite universal language. But that is it, everybody. That is it for this top 10 list. As always, I thank you so much for being a part of this show. I gave some thank yous out at the beginning. It is really wonderful. I've thoroughly enjoyed this first month that we've been doing this show. It has been tremendous, and I have so much fun. I look forward to it every single week. So I thank you for that. This Friday, we have a Fun List Friday. Make sure you tune in. For it, of course, like, subscribe, share, tell people. Let's help this thing grow. Maybe we can help somebody along the way and get some things off their chest and maybe bring some people together, because it's all the added benefit of doing this. So thank you so much. And till next time, do you even list?